Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick preview for the Sony CyberShot RX10 Mark II. Now, for those of you that followed my coverage of this camera last year, you already know that I pretty much crowned it the best bridge camera ever made. It kind of revived the sector, frankly, and thankfully, Panasonic also stepped up to the plate with the FZ1000, another great camera, its direct competitor, which did have 4K video, something that the RX10 I wish had had. It would have made it even more impressive, but it did have many things in its favor, from build quality to optical quality with that Zeiss lens built in there. It just really was unmatched, and even the FZ1000 with its extra bells and whistles still in many ways felt like a toy in hand compared to what the RX10 originally represented. But so now we do have 4K video. We also have a new 1-inch sensor, which is exciting. Of course, back illuminated. We also have super slow-mo, which I think is something that appeals to many users, especially when you're talking about a consumer-oriented camera. Granted, this is prosumer in terms of pricing, $1,300 US, and it'll be available sometime in the summer, I believe August. In terms of the high-speed shooting, you can see they now have stacked, and they've done the same thing with the RX100 Mark IV. They've stacked the sensor with DRAM, basically allowing for an elimination of the buffer issues you would traditionally encounter with a camera like this. So not only does that allow for incredibly fast shots, but also that 40 times super slow-mo that you see mentioned right here in Sony's marketing. So they mentioned that this is the #1 world's most selected image sensor, and it is. After all, Panasonic basically uses the same, not this sensor now with the DRAM, but the same sensor that Sony had in the RX10 was predicted to be what Panasonic licensed and was using in the FZ1000, and that's because it is a great sensor. It's in the camera I'm using right now, the AX100, and really just was pretty much I would say, the rule breaker. It became a standard within the industry for affordable 4K video. Sony, on the other hand, though, really didn't market it as affordable 4K like Panasonic did, but here we're finally getting a stab at it. So high precision 4K recording, I mentioned that earlier. You're going to have pretty much some best-in-class video, not only because of that 1-inch stacked sensor, but also because, again, of that incredible Zeiss glass that's built into this camera. I'll go ahead and play this for you for a moment. Give you a quick look. Take us into the video, shall we? Here we go. Go full screen on this. And even though this isn't being recorded in 4K because I didn't really see the utility, you can tell from the video quality that this is epic. I mean, it really is a fantastic bridge camera, and I think where the FZ1000 was great, this is going to be incredible. Of course, I do expect Panasonic to answer back with their update to the FZ1000, so we'll have to wait and see. For those of you on the fence, I don't know that you should be. I think that Sony did it better in many ways, less the 4K last year. Now that it's here, I can't really see how Panasonic can upstage this on many levels. Of course, stabilization is there. This looks like it was shot on a dolly, but in terms of overall performance, this is really going to be a bridge camera unlike any we've seen before. Let me go ahead and jump back to the marketing information. The super slow-mo, here's a quick example of that. I've been talking about it. You may as well see how it actually performs. And it's available both on the RX10 Mark II that I'm talking about now, as well as the RX100 Mark IV. And it's really impressive. You know, you're looking at 1,000 frames per second in PAL, 960 in NTSC, so 40 times super slow-mo that you simply could not do. And this is, again, a result of the new, I did not mean to do that, the new sensor with that stack design with the DRAM. Otherwise could not be achieved. So this is a major improvement on a camera that otherwise looks pretty much identical to its previous generation. And here you can also see Sony showing off the conventional sensor performance as opposed to their anti-distortion shutter feature, because they knew they had to take that into account. I mean, they even did that on the A7R Mark II by going to an electric shutter. The whole idea there was to eliminate shutter shock, so why not utilize it in another electronic shutter that they have here, because that is a great advantage. This is a silent camera, and that is something that really can't be said for a lot of models on the market, especially in this realm. Of course, the FZ1000 also an electronic shutter-based system, so you did have silent operation there, which was great. This is one of those things that hasn't changed on the camera. Sony reminding you that that Zeiss lens that's built on there is one you're going to love to use, and that's because not only do you get great range, I believe it's 24 to 200 millimeters in terms of a 35 millimeter equivalent. Of course, it's a crop because of that 1-inch sensor. We're not in the full frame world after all. But you are getting some amazing glass with an f2.8 rating across the entire range, much like the original RX10, something the FZ1000 did not have, by the way. In terms, it was f2.8 at its brightest, but that was it. In terms of another thing you should be aware of, the OLED viewfinder also upgraded here, I believe, so that's another welcomed addition. You still have that sensor to detect whether or not it's in use. And then basically Sony talking about the styling here. In terms of weatherproofing, I believe it is weatherproofed like the last gen, which is another nicety that you get here and not with any other competitor. Wi-Fi and NFC, of course, like the previous generation, nothing new there, and a large array of accessories, because you do have that hot shoe on board, and that is going to allow you to do more with this camera than you traditionally might expect to. Sony is stuck with the same processor, but again, the key here is really that upgrade in the sensor itself with the stacked DRAM chip, much like the RX10 Mark IV. And whether it comes to still video, it doesn't matter what you're going to do with this, you're going to be happy with the results. No touchscreen here. Definitely the type of camera that can be used for a lot of different things and will appeal to a lot of different customers at its $1,300 US price point. So a lot to like here. I'm looking forward to sharing this with you all when I actually have it in hand sometime this summer. But if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.